All right, we welcome in our good friend, Matt Versall. Morning, Vers.
Morning, boys. How we doing?
Good. Hey, this seems to be, because you've gone through it as a player and a coach, like the third week of camp of a 4-week camp seems to be the worst. This is like the dog day week of camp, it appears.
It's the worst game. It's terrible because you don't even, like there'll be Friday, Saturday, whatever. People have, I think we used to call them soap scrimmage in Grand Island. Everybody bring a bar of soap, get to come to the game, see practice, that kind of deal. But then you have another full week before you're ready for a game. There's no end in sight. Everybody's chippy. You're tired of hitting your teammates. The little younger people that are on the team are tired of getting hit. So yeah, it's not fun.
When does it turn? Like when you get the first scouting report, I know the scouting report, there's always some implementation of that game plan, whatnot, but is it just the first full, I'm sure they go more than just a hard copy of the stapled together pages, but when you get that first rendition of the scouting report, is that where things kind of elevate a little bit? Does it break up the monotony a little bit?
I think a lot. Oh, no. That Monday when you go to scouting report install, that's juices get flowing again, and you're like, okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah,
we should be good. We should make it. But luckily for these kids, today is really the first. Yesterday, I guess, was a little warm, but today's really the first going to be like hot day. They haven't had to deal with any of that crap.
Yeah.
It's even worse when it's like 99, 100 degrees outside and you're trying to do that.
Hey, what happened? You tell some great stories, and other guys, everybody that's gone through that program down there, or in college football in general, that the way you were treated as a freshman, you were a freshman for a reason. And I mean, even at Nebraska, where you guys came in early to get ingrained, you had to dress in a different locker room from the varsity, all of those things, how you were treated. Nowadays, freshmen seem like they're incorporated into the whole system sooner, and there is no differentiating from seniors to freshmen, because we may have, at some point here in the next couple of days when they announce the single digits, we may have a true freshman that gets a single digit number. Why is it different?
It's different because society is different and things have evolved. There's still ways you can do that. And I think some things, and I hope Rule and company kind of still keep some things like out of the public eye. I think I watched a couple colleges, the way they do it. Ohio State, they had you have a black piece of tape on your helmet.
Yes.
And then they take it off and then you unveil your actual Ohio State stripes. Things in your life that you have been given, you don't value as much as things in your life that you've earned, right? So in Nebraska at that time, you had to earn your way into the varsity locker room. And that meant a lot. And if a guy got promoted and he got to go down to that locker room, you're like, man, I got to pick my game up. I thought it was going good, but evidently I'm not. So little things like that matter to the psyche of your program, to the psyche of your team, to the cohesion of your team, really. So if they can get, and maybe they have something we just don't know about it.
Yeah.
But that would be awesome if they were back to something where you have to earn the right. Maybe you start out and you don't have the ends on your helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And as you go through camp as a freshman and you work your butt off, then you get the two ends on your helmet. That would be a cool thing to show, hey, I didn't just walk in here and they gave me everything. I earned it all. And I think that changes the brain of the player too. He knows, hey, I've had a pretty good life. Everybody's told me I'm awesome. And I just walked in here and they told me I'm awesome. This is a pretty good deal. I am awesome. And once you start to believe you're awesome is when the issues come around. So I think they probably have something in there. I just don't know what it is. And honestly, truth be told, it's not my business. They can do it their way. And I hope, and I think they are. I think the way the kids act, you can see a different frequency in the brain that they have.
Yeah, because I'm always under the assumption, and I was really curious, even going into spring, of how Dylan would be received, because the amount of time that he spent with the football program before he was officially enrolled was more so than your typical freshman. But still, when you're hearing so much hype about a guy, he shows up, I can understand there being some players that are like, all right, let's see what the pup can really do. But you guys had some experience with that with Tommy Frazier. With at some point you realize, damn, there is something there. I'm curious at what point or what you see from a guy that even your upperclassmen are like, yeah, this guy we can win with. Like, how early can that be in the process of a freshman?
And this also, to backtrack real quick to the high school coaches that are out there, this applies to you as well, because parent today is badass crazy, thinking they're freshmen. At Grand Island Senior High School, we were 10, 11, 12 was senior high.
Mm-hmm.
As a 10th grader, I didn't care who you were. You got polyester, yellow, mustard yellow pants, and you got a yellow practice jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And you practiced away from everybody. And one day, Kenny Fisher, may God rest his soul, he walked down to the sophomore field, and we were all nervous. And my nickname at the time was Fat Kid, and he looked at me and goes, Fat Kid. I was like, yep. He goes, you're with us now. And so I'm in my mind, I'm like, hey, dude, I get this. Like, I'm getting into the varsity practice gear. I'm this, I'm that. Nope. Mustard yellow, head to toe, practicing with the varsity, and if you want to know you're a target, have a different uniform on than everybody else. Now, to answer your question, if you're honest with yourself as a human being and as a man, if that's how you were raised, when they walk on the field, you know it's different.
Mm-hmm.
But credit to TG and TO. T. Frazier, when he got there, he was treated as a freshman. And when he made freshman mistakes, he got freshman ass chewing. But then when it clicked and he didn't make the freshman mistakes, you're like, oh man, this dude is still good. This is awesome. This is great. And to watch him then mature and progress. Now, the thing he had that a lot don't is presence. When he walked in, you got to set a natural born killers in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Lance Lumberg, Jimmy Scott, Kenny Malin, like, you got dudes. Okay? Dudes, Will Shields. I think 92. Will Shields. Like, you go in that huddle, you better have it in a group or they're going to let you know. And he did. And that was what was cool about it.
Why do you think
you just know, though? If you're honest with yourself, you just know.
Yeah.
They're different.
And you and I have been around him, so you get that sense because he's not really like braggadocious. He has a different vibe. I mean, he's a kid who's very confident and just likes doing what he's doing. But what do you think as we get closer and they'll make it official that he's the starting quarterback, which, worst kept secret? How does he handle not only being a true freshman quarterback starting at his dad's school, but Verz, he's got the weight of expectations that are unbelievable on him. Tommy had expectations, but Mike Grant started that year until a trip to Columbia, Missouri. This kid's starting from the go, and he's coming into a program that at least Tommy was coming into a program that was still winning, hadn't won the big one yet. He's coming into a program that hasn't been to a bowl game in 7 years. So how does he handle just the weight of expectations of a program?
I don't. So the one common element with the two players, they have zero self-doubt. Like, things, like, if everybody listening looks at your life, at some point in time, you had a chance to take a shot and you doubted yourself and you didn't do it. These two, it's not in their brain. Tommy was raised to be unbelievably self-confident, but also know that you're part of an organization. Raiola grew up in a professional locker room.
Yeah.
Like, that's a different upbringing. You see guys act professionally. If you think pressure at Nebraska, look at the guys he grew up around. They have pressure to cash the next paycheck that your family needs to live on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's pressure. That's real. And that's from, you look at guys that have mentioned him. The starting quarterback at Detroit at the time mentioned him. Reserved players mentioned him at the time. Some people are just raised and built different. Now, the great part for them is that if you think you're going to get out over your skis, if you think you're going to be too big for your britches, your daddy is Dominic Raiola. If you want to get put in check, you will get put in check very quickly. If you think you are something that he does not think you are, and Dom's the man. Dom is awesome. But if you look how the kid acts, he's very confident in himself, but he isn't braggadocious about anything. Yeah. And we don't, I mean, even in the limited times we've heard him speak, he conducts it like a professional media day. Yeah. He's a leader. And that's, I've asked for years, since the Pelini era through to where we are today, who is the alpha of alphas? And if you do find one, that's okay. If you have multiple, it's better. Mm-hmm. He can, age isn't as big of a deal anymore. It really isn't. But how he's acted and how he's conducted himself is very impressive. And he's earned it all. He hasn't walked in and been given. They've been competing for things. Mm-hmm. If you look at the coach, when he speaks about him in things, he'll say, well, Raiola did this, but also quarterback XYZ did this too. Right. So it's like, hey man, it ain't just you. So that it's cool to watch the psychology of it, but long story long, some people are just raised and built different.
I want to go back real quickly to something Gary brought up about where they are in camp right now, because, and I don't know if you endorse the parts of seasons where you learn more about certain players, whether it be younger players, older players, whether we talk about, the most improvement is made from week 1 to week 2 or things like that. But when you get into that lull of camp, is there a certain group or certain thing you can learn about your team, even when it seems like the most grueling and taxing time of fall camp?
Yeah. Who's out there and loves football? Who's out there and is hype every day? Mm-hmm. Who's out there and doesn't want to get better, demands that they get better. Like you can see it, much like you can see a kid come in that's really good. You can see guys that want to be better every day. Good part about this week in my meathead world, this is fight week.
Yep.
This is everybody tired of hitting everybody, and I'm tired of your S. Me and you go throw hands. Open palms, not in the helmet hands. Don't knuckle punch anybody. You got to work on your Deacon Jones head slaps, but yeah, and honestly, I it's the only time of the year I pay attention to the news, because Theo told us nobody should ever pay attention to newspapers or anything because they're written for a reason. That's to sell and make money. But I will pay attention to hey, there was a fight today, and I know Rule went on his thing, and you play different in front of the fans, and that's the other. That's fine. Behind closed doors, I am tired of you. You are tired of me. We are going to chuck some knucks, and let's see what happens. And then we'll high five, and we'll walk. That was the cool. Like, that would happen, right? You have alpha males competing to be the best. Fights would happen. Dab it up afterwards, and you're both kicked out of practice. Enjoy the South Stadium stairs, but it's over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we got it handled.
That is true. Verz, thanks. Great insight. Great conversation. Have a great weekend.
Good, boys.